Yo, 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 here we go again. This is a big
Sound
topic.
like a
I'm
rabbit.
excited. I'm not going to wrap the whole podcast. I can promise you that. No,
That'd be entertaining.
it's going to be a good one because it's about what we love and enjoy. It's about fitness. And Devon's revolved his whole life around it for the time being,
Yeah, pretty much.
being involved in the fitness portal.
Oh, was that just the? Oh, that side. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah,
I need to
there's
work
the
on the whole
branding.
marathon.
Yeah, we'll do a quick plug.
Just-
How's the new
Oh.
gym? You've just launched.
Yeah, we had to actually delay the opening day, thanks to COVID. Our
blame
equipment.
COVID.
Yeah, well, equipment's arriving on the 2nd of May now because there was delays in Singapore for sending equipment sitting on a boat right now in the ocean. So hopefully no
Damn
storms.
COVID.
But yeah, arrives on the 2nd of May. So we're having the open day on the 7th of May. So if you're in Wellington and you got nothing to do, head to Tawa, the Tawa Junction, 10 Surrey Street. Come down, check out all our brand new equipment. We've got pre-sales going, all sorts. The gym is 8 times the size of our current gym.
Well done, my friend. That's epic.
Yeah.
That's epic. 7th of May, was it?
7th of May.
7th
This year. Not next year, this year.
Epic. Yeah, so if you're watching this in any year other than 2022,
Yeah.
then it's not opening day on the 7th of May.
No, it's only for this year. But if you are watching this in 3 years' time, feel free to come check us out because we'll still be around.
Epic.
Hopefully have a
So
third gym
today-
by that point.
What's that? Third gym.
Third gym in 3 years' time.
And fourth gym and fifth gym and,
Yeah.
and beyond. Yeah, keep raising that bar.
Exactly.
So we're talking about from fat to fit. Exciting stuff. I love fitness. I love exercise.
I love the name from fat to fit because it's really can almost go for anybody. Literally anyone can go from their concept of fat to fit. Obviously, there's the what's the word for it? It's the traditional or the medical explanation of fat, which is, you got your BMI. If you're outside your BMI range, you're overweight or obese. Technically, I'm obese right now, but I wouldn't exactly consider myself fat per se. Got a little bit of...
Technically, I'm on the high end of overweight.
Are you on the high end of overweight for obese as well?
Yeah, bro. It's because I'm so short. Yeah, I think BMI needs an overhaul. It sucks for people like you and I.
Yeah,
like you need to be tall, dark, and handsome. No, not dark and handsome. But you need to be tall to make use of it, or you just can't be short and stocky. Essentially, otherwise it puts you at the wrong. If you're handsome,
your BMI goes down. You not know that.
Yeah. So yeah, BMI. It's not for everyone, but I guess it's a good general indicator.
I think it's a really good
basic measure.
Yeah, I had a really good conversation with my business partner Tim about BMI, because we were having a conversation on Saturday night about BMI being the noise in the background is Bex making our food prep for the week so we can stay nice and fit and healthy. It is Anzac Day, so not the normal setup that we normally have. But what we were talking about with BMI is it's really good for younger, as you're getting older. I was mentioning this with Bex as well, is that when you're younger, BMI is probably quite a good measurement to go by. And it's not until you kind of get into that development of puberty that it can get quite inaccurate, is probably a good word for it. It makes sense for things like, because the whole point of BMI is how many cells do you have in your body that can be infected. That's the idea of BMI. So if the bigger you are, the more cells you have in your body, the more likely you are to get cancer. So like that's a very drastic sort of comparison, but that's how I was explained BMI when I was first starting my personal training, is that if you're 120 kgs of muscle and you're only 8% body fat, you're probably like pretty jacked, pretty lean, but whether that is making you in a healthier area, that can be debated quite a lot, because you are still at risk, because you've got a lot more muscles for your heart to work to push towards. So it is easier for you to develop diseases or have heart problems as you go on in life. So there is a place for BMI, but if you're trying to decide whether you're in a good shape, I wouldn't be looking at BMI, because I personally believe that if I was to get into the correct BMI for my height, I would have to lose 20 kilos, I think it is.
Yeah, it doesn't take into account your metabolic state or your training
No.
state, does it? Like if you could be short, stocky, and muscly, and training every day, and you're a fitness freak, and every day you're at the gym or going for marathons, whatever. Like that might be your lifestyle, and then you jump on the scales and you might weigh 90 kg and be under 160 centimeters. So. Yeah, it doesn't take into account the lifestyle factors or what your body composition is. And so I think that's a big part of it. But if you're 160 centimeters and you're 90 kg and you're just eating pies and chips and sitting on the couch, obviously, you're not going to have this chiseled, conditioned body that can run marathons. So it's you just it needs a bit of context around it in order for it to be effective.
So I guess that's where both you and I have had the experience of where we've been in that position of being overweight and unfit and unhealthy is the big part. So to me, fat, fit, they're all like kind of ambiguous terms. Everybody's got a different idea of what fat is. Everyone's got a different idea of what fit is, but it's all about being healthy, in my opinion. There was a point in my life, and it was actually when I was a student and then working in radio, because I've got a Bachelor of Broadcasting Communications, and I was down in Dunedin and Christchurch drinking and partying every night, going to the clubs, and I was eating pies for breakfast, drinking V, because I was getting up at 4 a.m. to do radio shows. And even though I don't regret any of those lives, I got to about 105 kilos, and it wasn't a healthy 105 kilos. I was round in the face. I think I sent you the photo the other day of kind of the difference it was. Little love handles hanging over my Speedos. And it wasn't actually until I decided to go back into underwater hockey training to go to Worlds in 2015 that it suddenly went, oh, actually, I need to drop some weight, because I went from the 2011 Worlds that me and you went together, and then the 2015, so 4 years of just kind of living it up. I don't regret it, but I do wish that I'd had a better knowledge of how to keep myself healthy when I was just being social, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we trained pretty hard for Worlds, you and I, and we're at the pool and gym and doing all this physical activity in order to get us all trained up for Worlds. And then I guess when you stop living that lifestyle, like, it takes a while for mentally and physically for you to catch up and realize that you're not in that mode anymore. So before this episode, Devin and I, we traded a few photos of ourselves afterwards, and the funny thing is, you're still mentally in this space of being an athlete, or this happened to me at least. You're still mentally in this space of being an athlete, but your lifestyle has totally shifted. So you're still eating as much, and you're still you think you're as strong as you used to be, or as athletic as you used to be, but you don't train as much because you're not in that team mindset anymore, and you start eating a little bit more, or you eat the same amount as if you're training, and that just packs on the weight. I went a bit cold turkey with underwater hockey after we went to Worlds, and
really, I didn't notice.
In terms of underwater hockey, I still go into the gym, but it just wasn't enough. So I sent you through the photo of me a year into university, I think, and I was a bit chubs around the edges, and it wasn't until I saw that photo that I realized, okay, I let myself go a bit. But like I love getting back on the horse and jumping back into exercise. So I quite like that mental challenge. And I know it's a lot harder for a lot of people out there. So yeah, we've all had our journeys. Like fitness is this thing that fluctuates. No one's on this perfect ride to the top. Like people get into this groove of being in good moments where their training is going well, they're on top of their eating, and they're really enjoying their exercise regimes. But then, like, often that doesn't last forever. It might be a couple of years or something, or it might be 6 months. For some people, after New Year's resolutions, it's like a week. But yeah, it's real interesting. I find I love this topic because I think I believe in the human spirit, and I believe in when people let themselves go, that's like the time to like just hit it and like see what you can make out of it. You know, that's my favorite thing to see when someone goes from like their lowest level and they hit it hard for like 6 months or a year, and they're a totally different person out the other side.
100%. And what's interesting is you mentioned that you saw the photo that you sent me. The exact same thing happened to me as well, apart from the fact that I was deciding to go back to underwater hockey. But I think it was before that, it was seeing a photo of myself at a family reunion. And I went, oh, like I thought I was pretty fit and strong. Like I was still eating the same amount that I did when I was training full time, but I was just slowly like ballooned. And I thought it was all muscle sort of thing. I saw this photo and I was like, oh, that is not all muscle. It is definitely been packing on the pounds. And so, and exactly what you said, I lost all the weight training for underwater hockey and I got really fit again. And then I kept that going for quite a while. Ended up getting into boxing, kept it going, and I was getting even leaner. And with boxing, you have to be so fit. Like it's another level of fitness. I was doing Fight for Kiwi, which is a charity where they do all the fundraising for the kiwi, essentially. So they put it back into the nature of New Zealand. And I said that really Kiwi, New Zealand. So it was just a little side tangent that I thought in my head. And then I got into biking for Lake Taupo and was doing that. And I had a big crash at Lake Taupo, 5K up the finish line. And then after that, I found it really hard to get back on the bike, and I lost all that biking fitness. And and I got a girlfriend at the time, so relationship weight came on. And then it wasn't until Tim and I started the fitness portal, and it was probably about 6 months into the fitness portal being open in 2019 that I saw another photo, and all that weight that I'd lost had slowly come back on, and I was sitting at a position where I was not quite happy with it again. And by this point, Bex had moved in with us, and it was the first lockdown in 2019, and was it 2020 that we had the first lockdown? 2020. So yeah, it wasn't until 2020 that I actually realized I'd let myself go again. Even though I owned a gym and I had a gym as access, I was still strong and I was still reasonably fit, but I wasn't in a position where I was happy with my body composition and how I felt on a day-to-day basis. And then, yeah, Bex and I just kind of got on this health buzz, and then we haven't really looked back since. And so far, we've been able to, most of the time, hold it pretty well. And as you said, there's the ebbs and flows. It definitely comes and goes. If you've got the motivation here, if you've got the motivation there. At the moment, I'm really motivated. Loving my training, and it's easy. But there's sometimes when it's like, I just can't be bothered. Christmas is one of those times where everyone seems to struggle holding on to their gains and not falling back off the wagon, as people like to say.
Yeah. There's this funky thing that happens when you were sporty in your teens, and I don't know what effect it is, but it's like everyone seems to like have this image of you as being you when you were in your teens, and they're like complimenting you, like they're saying, "Oh, you're a strong guy, Jace," or you're like you're fitter than most people, and like that plays around in your head, so you let yourself go. I found that being like part of the reason. Like you rest on your laurels a little bit, you know. You take a back seat a little bit, and you start believing what you're hearing. You're like, oh yeah, I am quite strong. Maybe I can take the day off from gym. You know, I really enjoy exercising, but that all compounds. You know, you take these breaks, and then it gets to the like end of that period. Maybe it's like 4 months down the line, and you've let yourself go. It's a real thing. I've found for me personally. That's what's happened. Do you find that?
That's quite an interesting. I'd never really thought about it in that way, but that definitely would be what happened to me when I first set up the gym, because I was a gym owner and I was doing CrossFit, and I was pretty strong. Like, I could throw around some weights that most people couldn't throw around, especially in the underwater hockey background, because I was mostly playing underwater hockey at this point. And everybody there was like, "Oh, well, you're the strongest at the pool." So kind of got in my head that I was doing well enough. I could throw some tin around. I could go for a half marathon and that sort of stuff. So my idea was that I was at that point, but then when I broke it down, I was like, because I was doing the same thing as you. I was saying, like I'm fit enough. I can have this chocolate, or I can have a day off. And so that's a very interesting concept that I never really thought about. Is that it's the people around you telling you that you're good enough makes you slack off, and for lack of a better word.
Yeah. That's probably been my biggest downfall when it comes to fitness. It's just like taking a backseat because people have been like way too kind with their compliments. I almost need that negative feedback a little bit. Like, oh, Jace, you're not good enough. Like, I need to like have a bit of like, I just need someone to say, come on, Jace, pick up your shit. You're doing badly at the moment, because if life's going too well, then I rest on there, but it's not good. I need to. That's what fitness anyway. I found.
That kind of similar in a way. Like, I find if I need to be on like a buzz, but I do need someone kicking my ass in the back corner, being like, right, you need to, like, you've missed a session, come on, let's go, like, pick it up, another one.
But on the flip side, that's the best thing about being in a high performance team. When like you're not the best or everyone's on a high level, that's when like you hit your groove. That's when you realize that everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses, and there's always things to work on, because everyone's like pushing each other in different ways, and you just, by using everyone else's momentum, everyone thrives together. That's a pretty epic place to be.
All right, so here's a little side nugget on it, because both of us have been part of high performance teams, and we've both worked at like a top level. So let's say there's somebody who's never been in that situation. They're currently at home listening to the podcast, and they're on the couch. They're 20, 30 kilos overweight, and they're currently at what would be considered the fat. So how do they get to the fit? How does someone who's never done exercise, because to be honest, I feel like it's easier for us because we've been there before. We've just got to do it again. We've just got to get back, 100%. Get into training. But if you've never done it before, how do you take that step to getting fit?
Yeah, this is exactly where I wanted the conversation to go. So glad you put that in there. Because it's a huge topic. It's really it's a big interest of mine to like see people. Like, I love seeing people go from one level and just like change their lives dramatically and hit like a level they want to be in, or a position they want to be in. So I would say just start with the thing that is almost like, start with the minimal amount that you can sustain. So if that means going for a walk twice a week, maybe for half an hour, make sure that's sustainable. And once you think, okay, I've been doing this for 3 weeks now, I'm going to up the ante. Maybe I'm going to go for 4 walks a week, and then slowly, incrementally raise it. Because what you don't want happening, because I'll take a step back. Health is for life. You know, you're in this one body for the rest of your life, and the healthier you can make it, generally, the longer your life will be. Right?
Yeah.
So that's like ground zero. That's like the baseline motivation for me for being healthy and why I want to keep my body in check. I want to live as long as possible and function the best I can with the body I've got. There's always going to be genetic factors. I'm not the tallest person in the world. Anyone that's met me knows that. You know, there's always going to be things that individually affects us. I also have asthma, and it affects me to this day. So there's always weaknesses that we have, knees, like whatever. That's just what happens when you grow up and get older. But there are things you can change every day, and you can put physical stresses on your body so that then you can move forward, so that you become a healthier person. So start off small, and that's the first thing. And second thing I'd say is find someone that will keep you accountable. And there's two ways of going about that. The first one is find someone who's in a similar position to you, and you can match each other and make sure you rise up together. So that's like having a training buddy, or you can have a coach, which drives you on the days that you don't want to get out of bed or go for that exercise session. They're the ones on the phone saying, "Come on, pick it up. You signed up for this. You're going to get out of bed now. You're going to go for that walk, go for that run, go to the gym." Because I'm your coach, and just as you're investing in me, I'm investing in you, and I want to put you in the best position possible. So there's two ways of going about it, either a coach or a training buddy, but that's the way I see it. What about you, Dev?
So pretty much exactly the same idea. So I've worked with a lot of people. I've been a PT for 6 years now, and the ones who succeed are usually the ones who take it step by step. Like the people that I've worked with, you've got so in the industry we kind of call it your average Joe, your general population is another way, your gen pops, and it's all about, for those people, they've got all these outside factors. So you've got kids are a massive one. You've got family. You've got, they don't really enjoy exercise, but they know they should be healthy. So all of those, there's so many excuses that you can come to terms with, but your daily life is going to be that much better if you're genuinely a healthy person. Like, I just did some gardening today, and I was saying to Bex, I was like, I wish, I'm so glad that I'm genuinely a fit person because I'm able to do this gardening. I'm pretty sore. Gardening is hard work. But if I wasn't fit, I wouldn't have been able to do a whole weekend worth of gardening and get our garden up to shape where we want it to. So that's just a little side tangent on why it's really good for Gen Pop or your average Joe or whatever you want to call them, to why they should do it. But every client that I had comes to me who isn't someone looking for that athletic goal and is just someone who wants to move a bit better, wants to be able to get up and down off the ground, wants to be able to walk up the stairs without puffing. Those are some, when I ask someone what is fit to them, those are usually the answers I get back. I want to be able to go for a 5K walk. I want to be able to walk up the Te Whiti Riser. I've even had in the past, I want to walk over the Youre Bridge, which is a bridge in Lower Hutt that is probably maybe a 3-minute walk, but this person found that hard and they said, I want to be able to walk over the Youre Bridge without puffing. So there are people who are on that level who think fit is there, and then other people who will be like, I want to be able to run 21K. That's my idea of fit. So everyone's on a different stage of where fitness is. And the big thing is one, find a personal trainer who understands that everybody's got a different idea of fit. Because if you go to your classic personal, like there are some people in the industry who believe that everything should be a certain way. They put people in boxes. And that's not the way I like to operate. I like to operate with the person I'm working with. Some people I'm training them for an Ironman. Other people, I'm training them to be able to get up off a chair because they're not strong enough to get up out of a chair. And I don't judge anyone for where they're at. I'm just stoked at the fact that they're in doing something. But 100%. It's always a case of what you said, and it's that step by step. It's progressive overload, which is you start off at the beginning with 2 times a week in the gym, and then you step up to 3 times a week in the gym. And it could be walking, it could be swimming, it could be running. Whatever you enjoy exercise-wise is where I recommend going to start off with. Or going the opposite way, which is how some people prefer, is focus on diet first and then focus on the fitness. But I wouldn't do both at the same time. If you're doing 3, 4, 5, 6 different things at one time, it's going to become overwhelming, it's going to be too much, and it's going to be too hard to keep going. You've got to create the habit before working on a new habit. So it's one habit at a time. And whenever I get a client come to me, because I'm an expert in physical fitness, I tell them, let's just focus on getting you into the gym regularly, 2 to 3 times a week, and then we'll look at the diet. Because if I try and get them on the diet and physical fitness at the same time, chances are I'm not going to have that client in 3 months' time. Whereas I've had clients with me for 6 years now, and it's because we took it step by step, and they're at a position, and they've had their ebbs and flows. They've had times where they've fallen off the wagon, or they've gone on holiday and they've undone all their hard work and rah. But that's what life is. Like, you've got to enjoy the small things as much as you've got to keep things in moderation. And that's what I'm starting to get a handle now. Since I've been exercising since I was probably 15, 14, and I'm only just now in the last 3 years figuring out how to not overindulge at Christmas, how to not overindulge in Easter. And it's taken a long time to build these habits to learn. And it's where you talked about with the training buddy. Bex and I are now pretty much training buddies. So we go for runs together, we gym together. We don't do the same thing, but we keep each other accountable. Because I don't think Bex would ever want to do Olympic lifting. I've tried. And CrossFit. She's not having a bar of either of it. But what we do is we keep each other accountable. We get each other up in the morning, / she gets me up in the morning and drags me out of bed. But we're getting there. And I think that's the important part, is we've found someone that works well for us. And it doesn't have to be someone you're dating. It could literally be your mate, or it could be some random at the gym that you like the look of, and you're like, actually, I like the way you train. I want to work out with you. You just go up and be like, hey, do you have a training buddy? Let's work out together. Some people will be like, nah, I'm good. Other people are like, let's do it. So 100%. Yeah, exactly what you said is the training buddy, the coach, both of them are important. Having both is even better. I've got a coach, but I've also got a training buddy. I've got multiple training buddies actually. But
I think also one more thing I'd like to put in there is decrease your barriers. And what I mean by that is, if you have, like, say you've decided to go to gym before work, maybe at 6:30 in the morning, right? So there's lots of barriers to that. I want to sleep in. I haven't got my clean clothes. I have to drive half an hour to get to a gym. So there's all these barriers, right? And I found the best thing to do is try and reduce those barriers as much as possible. So earlier in my training, I wasn't a morning person. I was a classic teenager, just wanted to sleep in, but I also had my training goals, right? So what I'd do is I'd get my my bag ready for in the morning. I often didn't go to sleep early because, like, my brain wasn't wired that way, so that one I wasn't smart enough to calculate how many hours sleep I needed, so that often kicked my ass in the morning. But sometimes I would sleep in my gym gear just so that I, including my sneakers, right, just so that I could just roll out of bed. I'd have a banana on my bag, and I'd smash the banana back and go to the gym. That would be the order of things. So I'd be like sleeping my eyes. I'd be dragging myself out of bed. I wouldn't have to get changed. I was already changed. I'd just head out the door, you know, and then get to the gym. And
that's amazing.
And sometimes to this day I do that because, like, I just know the hardest bit about gym is getting there.
Yeah.
Once you're there,
100%.
everything else takes care of itself. It's the getting there that is the hard bit. So reduce your barriers and do that for every excuse in your mind, right? Or everything that's stopping you getting to your exercise session. The more barriers that you put up, the less likely you'll do the thing that you want to do. And that goes for everything else outside the exercise arena too.
Fun fact on the barriers thing. I don't know if it's a fact, but a cool concept. One of the members at my gym, a guy called Fraser McIntosh, he does a blog called Afraid Mind, as in like frayed, as in it's like fraying. And he wrote a really cool blog post about how you either need to take away barriers or put in barriers. So if it's something that you want to start doing, you do exactly what you were saying about how you take away the barriers. So if you're, like you said, if you want to wake up in the morning, go to the gym, make sure your clothes are all ready to go so you can get up and just go. But then he also did another side fact of the things you want to stop doing. So if you really struggle with having a healthy diet, he said, this is an extreme example, is take the beer, bury it in the garden, and then how likely are you going to want to go and get that beer because it's buried in the garden? Yeah, using friction. Beck's just piped up in the background saying using friction to like create friction and then take away friction. So if you want to stop doing something, you use the friction. What?
So fuel a good habit and friction to break a bad habit.
There we go. Fuel a good habit and then friction to break a bad habit. There you go. We got
we should have Bex on the line in one podcast. And her in the show.
Yeah, we'll get her in as a guest. But yeah, so it must be something that, because Bex is a Weight Watchers coach, and so she's probably heard about it from her coaching on that side, I'm assuming. But that's what Fraser wrote a blog about, and it was the case if you put that beer in the garden, you're not gonna, if you want to feel like a beer, you're gonna have to go dig it up. So it's making it a lot harder to go get it. Whereas if you want to, I don't know, have carrots, you chop them up at the start of the week, and then it's a lot easier to have carrots as a snack in the week. So
100%.
Yeah, that fuel and friction is a really good way. And if it's going to the gym, it could be maybe a case of going to a gym that has 24-hour access rather than a gym that doesn't, so that you can go at any time if you're a shift worker. If you don't like being alone, go to a place where it's got group fitness, so it makes you have people to work out with, or where you have to book in, so it forces you to go because you don't want to have to let someone down because you've booked in. So there's so many options and ways to make it possible to create those habits and also break the bad habits.
And then I like what you say about barriers on the negative things as well. Like, if there's bad food in the supermarket, I don't even walk down that aisle, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't visit the alcohol aisle. I don't go to the cookie section, chip section. Like, it's all like everyone knows what you do. It's simple. It's just like there's a little bit of our brain that really enjoys sugar and really enjoys salt and fats, right? And we all know that, right? So if you just skip that aisle completely, you get home and you don't have any of it in your shopping bags. It's a lot easier to stick to a diet than if you sneak something in. And the cheekiest thing that supermarkets do is they put all the chocolates and sweets at the end while you're paying all your groceries on the what's it called, the checkout, right? So
the checkout.
It's pretty cheap, those cheeky checkouts, you know. So if you get home and there's none of that in your bag, it's a lot easier to abide by your goals. I think about alcohol a lot because me being a student, I'm in Dunedin. I see a lot of people drinking alcohol, and it doesn't even enter my mind that I want to drink the stuff because it's expensive. It's like, it's so bad for you. It's not even funny. And like you can have a really good time without it, right? So if it went onto the if it was a new drug today, it would be like a B class drug. It's just silly. What?
And you know, the irony of you making that statement is I'm currently drinking a bourbon and Coke.
Devin, way to destroy my point. No, but it's all about balance, right? So everyone has choices in life. I don't actually judge other people for anything in their lives. If they're like, as long as they're good people, like if they want to drink, go for gold. If they want to, like I believe in free choice. Everyone can live their lives how they want, but this is the guiding principles I live my life by. So no judgment on others, but in saying that, I want everyone to be the best they possibly can. I think it's good for everyone to be in state of like it's all about long-term game and consistency and balance. So if Devin, if you want to have that drink, because it gives you peace and it keeps you in balance, and long-term you're a big person for it, you know. But
the thing with like there are people. I think, and especially the reason I try to stay fit is so I can enjoy some of the little things in life. Like Bex and I, talking about barriers as well, is for Easter we got given so much chocolate, like so much chocolate. It didn't help that we bought each other quite a lot of chocolate, but then we also got given chocolate by her auntie and uncle. We got given chocolate by her parents. We got given chocolate by my parents. We got given chocolate by random people, and we now have this huge drawer full of chocolate. Old Devin would have smashed all of that chocolate, like yum, 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 straight away in a day, had real bad stomach cramps, probably put on like 3 kilos in a day sort of thing. And it used to be the whole idea of, oh, if I eat it now, then I can't have it later sort of concept. And I think that's
actually how I am with, like, if I start watching something on Netflix, like a season or a series rather, then like I'm like, if I watch it now, then that means I'm free later on. Right. Yeah. So I watch I watched Daredevil in the holidays over summer. I think I watched in like 8 days or something. And there's like 3 seasons. So it's like 30 hours, and I had a full-time job and like had other stuff going on. It was mental. Like I wasn't sleeping because I thought, and they always have those bits at the end, like the cliffhanger that makes you want to watch.
I'll just do another one.
My monkey brain is horrendous with stuff like that. Which is why, going back to your chocolate comment, why I can't have treats, you know? Like I just nom it back if it's like, I have enough self-discipline not to start usually, but if I do, like all discipline out the window. So
Bex has always been very good at this. I'm terrible at it. But what we do is we store the chocolate in a cupboard high up so I can't actually see it. And we close the cupboard door. And so I'm like out of sight, out of mind. Brilliant. That's all good. And then it's a case of we'll just every now and then be like, oh, that's right, we've got chocolate, and we'll have a bit of chocolate at night time. But the other thing we do, which people can't believe, and some of my clients are like, sorry, what? You do this? And I'm like, yes, I do this every morning. We have a coffee, a chocolate, and a ginger nut on our way to work, because we get up at 5 a.m. every morning to go to the gym or go to work or whatever. So our way of helping ourselves get out of bed is a long black with a piece of chocolate and a ginger nut, because ginger nuts and coffee, just beautiful. Or tea if you're a tea drinker.
That's what gets you ticking in the morning.
Exactly. And at the moment, it's not being detrimental to either of us. If it gets to a point where it starts being detrimental, then we'll probably reassess and kind of go from there. But it's always about reassessing as you go along. But yeah, the out of sight, out of mind, or not having it in the cupboards is definitely one of the best ways to help yourself. But I understand there's people who have kids or other family members who put things in the cupboard, and it's a little bit harder. Like I know when I was growing up, Mum had to feed 2 boys who were full-time athletes. Well, full-time athletes as in like Casey was swimming, I was playing underwater hockey, tennis, whatever other sport I could get my hand on. And we ate so much food. And so it was just a case of filling the cupboards with whatever we would eat. And also not having a full understanding of nutrition, because it's not really something you learn. So it's just a case of, well, this says it's healthy, so we'll give it to them. It's got lots of vitamin C. Surely that's got to be good for them. And so we're just smashing back. Like I'd probably eat like 3 to 5 loaves of bread in a week when I was in high school. Come home, make toasted sandwiches. Like, it was just easy, and it fueled a growing boy. From started off height wise, and then it kind of went width wise after that. But when I was training, like doing 20 hours of training a week, didn't matter, just straight through you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the teenage boys who are also in training, like they eat like manimals, eh? They just go through so much food. I think there was a point where I was going through one of those, or probably 2 to 3 of those family wheat bix boxes a week, and my parents just couldn't keep up. They're like, "What do we feed this kid?" But it's interesting what you're saying about like chocolates and treats out of mine. Like the only, like, if I get chocolate or alcohol given to me, I try and give it away as quickly as possible.
Really?
I give it to mates, so that it's not even in my environment, like so that way, like, I don't have access to it. It's like, it's nice to receive gifts. Thank you very much. I'll take that. If normally they don't know me too well and they want to give me a gift, because if they know me, they know I don't drink and don't have sugar generally. But if they don't know me and they want to thank me, then that's a valid gift, and I don't want to seem rude and say, "Oh no, I don't want it," or anything. But it's something that I do, and I try and give it to people who may want it. It's just easier to keep out of the environment.
That's really interesting, eh? Like see, for me, it's a case of I've got obviously a lot longer ago, I used to just eat it and it was gone. And then now it's a case of trying to portion control it. So the chocolate we got for Easter will probably last us till Christmas, and then we'll get stocked up again at Christmas. Like, that's how little amount we have each day. And that's only a skill I've been able to learn because of being in an environment where portion control is a normal thing. But when it was my family, portion control wasn't a thing. It was a case of just like, eat whatever you could. And being a student as well, it's like, you don't know when you're going to eat again. You don't know if you're going to have enough money to buy your food next week. So you will eat whatever is available at that time, because you're like, oh God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford food next week. So I'm just going to eat everything in sight. But that's pretty, it's quite interesting, the difference. Something else, one of my clients actually, I was telling them about how we were going to do this podcast of Fat to Fit. And they said, but what about those who are fat and fit? And so I was like, oh, that's quite a cool angle to bring up. So
talk deeper on that. Who would you consider fat and fit?
So you've got people who are categorized overweight, right? Or they've got a little bit of a pudge, a little bit of a belly. So for example, when I think it was in 2015, I just got back into underwater hockey, and I was playing. I was probably sitting about 100 kilos, and I was definitely, that photo that I sent you where I was in my Speedos and there was a bit of pudge around the sides and a little bit of love handles hanging over. At that point, I probably, to the average person, would have been considered quite fit. And I'm pretty sure I was one of the fastest in the team that year. And I was actually, I got told by the coach after the tournament that I was one of the fittest in the team. So I wasn't exactly lean, and I was definitely overweight, in my opinion, and then probably other people's opinion as well. But I was still fitter than your average person. And there are some people who, I've got people who come to my gym and they hold a lot more weight, but they can go run a half marathon. They can go run a marathon. They can, I've had clients do full Ironmans and they're still holding a bit of weight to them. And it's actually pretty common in marathons for people to put on weight when they're training for a marathon because of how much food they have to eat to be able to sustain. And I think a lot of people get really disheartened the fact that they're so fit, but they're still holding a lot of weight. Does that make more sense of like the whole you're fat but fit?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I always want to tread carefully around this topic because there's risk factors associated with holding more fat around, like in terms of your body composition, right? And so there are people who have a higher body composition with fat. They have higher risk for cardiovascular diseases. Like there's all this stuff that goes into your body composition and health, right? So, but in saying that, you're right. There are people who are fit and do carry a bit more fat. What I don't want, I guess, is justified the right word? I don't want people not to be as healthy as they can be because they feel they're just big boned, or they're doing well for their body composition, or it's a fine line to tread. But I do know what you mean. I've met people who and like from the outside you think that they're not they don't have this chiseled body, but then you get them on a treadmill and like they're amazing. Their cardiovascular fitness is great, so I guess weight is just one measure of health. And there's other things that keep them ticking. Often they are training a lot, and so their body has found an equilibrium to sustain their athletic ability and their metabolism. So that's great. But I think that I just don't want people cutting themselves short because they think this is the body that they'll have forever. There's a lot of influences that go into body composition, your training regime, your nutrition, your environment, all that jazz plays a part. And so yeah, it's a hard one to figure out. And I'm not an expert on the matter, but yeah, that's my thoughts. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, and I see exactly where you're trying to go without being offensive to people, because this is one of the ones that I've struggled with as a personal trainer in my whole life, because there's a point where being fit doesn't necessarily mean healthy. But once again, it's that ambiguous term. Like what is fit, what is healthy, what is that, all that sort of stuff comes back into play. In my opinion, and this is my humble opinion, but healthy, like if a rugby player is super fit, right? Like if you're on a rugby field, you're super fit. But whether that rugby player is actually healthy, by the time they're 50, they're probably going to be broken as hell. Like top athletes, people at the top of their field, I would not consider healthy. Like myself as well. Like I'm a perfect example of, I push my body to the extreme where I can because I love it. And that's why I do it, because I love putting myself through that sort of thing. But I wouldn't exactly consider myself the healthiest person because I do that. I know people who are able to do majority of activities. They hold themselves at a reasonably healthy body weight and they feel good like majority of the time. So their body, even though they might not be able to do as much as what I can, or they might not be able to lift as much as what I can, they're actually a more healthy body position. And it's a really hard one to define because everyone's opinion will be 100% different. And you could look at the scientific, you could look at opinions, you could look at so many different ways, but being fit doesn't necessarily mean healthy. And what I like the way I'm looking at things, because I've seen people who are extremely fit and they're smashing things out, but then they're exhausted, like on the day-to-day basis, they're exhausted. They get migraines, they get they can't sleep at nighttime, or they struggle to get up in the morning. The basic daily life things that you need to be able to do are being sacrificed for you to be able to be this person. So if you can find that balance of being able to fall asleep like you naturally should be able to, being able to wake up in the morning, not getting migraines, not having stomach problems, because that's one of the big ones as well. Is like recently, is a lot of people who are athletes or who are super fit actually get quite a lot of stomach problems because there's so much stress on their gut. And it's a case of being able to find that middle point of where what is fit, what is healthy, what is fat, and bringing them all together into the perfect mold. And I don't think I wouldn't be able to name anyone who's found that perfect mold yet.
Yeah, I'd say being fit is when your body is operating at its optimum, right? And
Yeah.
so that's like it's a bit of a like it's a bit of a dream thinking, because everyone's optimum, like you never really reach your optimum, even when you're like training 10 times a week, and like you're always pushing yourself to get to that space, right? But you can get close, you can get very close, and you can train and do weight training, aerobic training, all the rest of it, hit training, whatever suits you to reach your optimum, whatever that looks like. And for a weightlifter, that'll be different from a marathon runner, from someone who wants to just get their sleep cycle right. You know, that could be someone's goal, right? So get yourself in an optimum position, and often it comes with your mental game as well. So you need to get your headspace straight. If that's not straight, often your body has physical effects, right? So it's quite a holistic thing, but in my personal opinion, it's something everyone should strive for. Because your body is your vehicle for operating in this world, and it's the only thing you keep until the day you die. So it's pretty important. But I understand that exercise and nutrition isn't everyone's jam. It's hard for a lot of people out there. But once you start getting momentum, often you want to stick on the buzz because you realize the effects that has. When you start changing your diet, your palate changes so that you want to eat your fruit and veg and lean meats rather than your sugars and fats. Your body starts changing, so you have more energy. You can sleep better at night. You have better mental acuity. So that all these things start stacking up, and that's how someone goes from being at one end of the scale and being obese or overweight, and there's this transition over a year, 2 years, 5 years, where they become a completely different person because of the physical changes that they've had to their body. So that's why I'm super passionate about this topic. I think it's epic to see people go through that transition. So when I see people in the street and they're overweight or obese, and they've got the tunes in, and they've got sweat dripping down their face, and they look like they've walked for like 5 kilometers or something, and they're just like in this zone of just going at it along the harbour or something. I love to see that. Like that's a great sight to see, because I know that they're trying to improve their life. It's pretty cool. Yeah. I want to go back to a point that you said earlier around education, because I think it's a huge point. I think we don't get educated enough around fitness, nutrition, exercise. So what's your thoughts on that?
That's a hard one, because
big topic.
I think I'm even noticing it in day-to-day stuff. So people don't understand, like if we focus on nutrition for an education side of things, people don't understand that calories and kilojoules is an energy base. So for example, if you've got an 8-year-old, they should not be eating as much as a full-grown person, because you think of the size difference. And even like as an example, you got a 6'5" guy versus a 5'5" guy. The 6'5" guy technically should be consuming more food based on how much they need the fuel. Obviously, when you start looking at all the outside factors, like how much they exercise, all that, it gets a little bit more complicated. But as a basic factor, the more of you is the more that you need to fuel. And a lot of people think, oh, if I start eating 1,000 calories a day, I'm going to lose weight. But you've got a base metabolic rate. So you've got your BMR, which is how much you burn sleeping. And if you eat less than that, you're actually putting yourself in a detrimental position, because your body goes into like a lot of people talk about starvation mode, but I think that's a little bit like you're only going to deal with that in your third world countries where they've literally been starving for 5 days and their body starts like doing this weird thing where it puts on weight. But majority of people are like, oh, I must be in starvation mode. It's like, no, you're probably just not realizing how much you're eating in snacks. But that's another side tangent that I could go down. But the big thing is you need to eat at least your BMR plus a little bit, and you'll probably still lose weight. But it's calories versus you've got your chocolate calories versus your eating vegetable calories. You're going to get more food out of eating vegetables and fruit and meat. You're going to get a better, more full feeling out of eating those nice, clean carbohydrates, fats, and proteins than going for your faster burning ones like your simple carbs and your what's the fats? That's the bad one. It's the trans fats, like your McDonald's, all that sort of stuff. It just kind of goes through you, and you lose that instant energy, and it doesn't keep you going. So there's so many different little things about it, and I think it's such a complex world. And then we've got these people raising kids, and they have no idea how energy works in the body, and it's quite sad. You're seeing more and more obese children coming into this world, and that was one of the reasons why I got overweight as a kid. And no offense, like my mum did a great job. Like I feel like she's done pretty well at raising me. Like I haven't turned out too weird. My dad had to go back to work, and then she ended up having to go back to work to be able to afford to pay for 4 kids. So it ended up just being us in the pantry. I started getting boxes of shakes out of the pantry and eating that for afternoon tea, and then eating dinner. And I had no idea at the time that what that actually meant. That was essentially eating a dinner and eating another dinner for how many. So if more people were educated on basic energy consumption of food, I think the world would be a lot healthier place. So in my opinion, it should be going back into schools. Like we should be teaching schools, we should be teaching parents, we should be giving people more knowledge about what they're actually eating, and then they can make the choice. Because people say, oh yeah, I know I shouldn't be eating this. They know, but they don't actually know. 7 Doritos is over 100 calories. So 7 Doritos is worth more than a banana. When you put it into that context, people go, oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a big issue because, like you raised the point, it sticks within the families, right? So athletic families raise athletic children, and unhealthy families raise unhealthy children, and the cycle continues. That's a generalization. Obviously there's a lot of autonomy on an individual basis, but it's a huge issue, and it causes a lot of discrepancies. It feeds in because they have less energy, or the unhealthy people have less energy. They can't focus in schools. Then they get worse grades. That leads into not getting the grades they need to get into the careers that they want, or they don't have the knowledge base to get into the jobs that will lead them into a fulfilling life and career. It's a big issue. That's thinking very macro, obviously, but it leads into the point that we need better education. I was lucky that I fell in love with the topic. I had parents who put food on the table for me, and on the whole, it was healthy. I was probably more health orientated than most of the family, but then because I brought that element, they came up to the level that, or for the most part, they like to drink and they like their chocolates and stuff. But my brothers are like athletic pursuits as well. So I was pretty lucky with the environment I was in, and not everyone has that. It's I think that you're right. We do need to put it into schools, and people need to have the environment that is supportive of a healthy life. So those families that may not have had those influences when they were younger, they need to come together and have a nutrition coach, or just come in for cooking classes that they can share with their families, and then those communities can start building those habits again. It's and then that will have an influence on their children, and then you have a generational effect. I think that I'm of the belief that I think there should be a sugar tax. That I know that's like a lot of people wouldn't agree with it. But I think the energy drink business is like pretty rough at times, especially on school kids. So I think that there's a need for intervention over there. But there's you can put in policy, but I think the most effective strategy is education, and obviously it's consistency. So if people are educated and they understand the benefits, then they're more likely to do the acts that benefit them. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it.
I definitely think education could change a lot in the whole scheme. Like New Zealand's was it 3rd most obese country in the world?
Horrendous.
Pretty bad. But even Australia is making steps. They've reduced, I think they're GST free on vegetables and fruit. Like something simple like that. Yeah, I heard something about it the other day. I don't know how true it is because I didn't do any research into it, but something simple like that, reducing, like getting rid of GST on fruit and vegetables, would drop their price in the supermarkets tenfold. Or even reducing it by like having different tax rates depending on what you're buying. I'm not a financial expert or anything like that. All I care about is people being able to afford good food. The fact that you can buy junk food cheaper than it is to buy like vegetables and stuff, it makes the choice for people when they're looking at, when they're buying for their family, well, that's a lot cheaper than that, so I'm going to buy that. And that's one of the problems is. But also learning how to cook, which you mentioned before, that can be a massive improvement as well. So when the first lockdown hit in New Zealand, it outlined to a lot of people they don't know how to cook and they rely on buying, and then all of a sudden they don't have enough money to do everything else because they're spending all their money on food every week. And if you do have the funds available, things like what's the like bargain box and my food bag,
Hello Fresh.
Hello Fresh, they're great tools, but they are quite expensive. Like myself and Bex, we started on them, and then we decided they were a little bit more on the expensive side, and we wanted to put our money into other things. And we're quite happy eating simple. We literally eat the same thing every day because we bulk cook on a Sunday. Today's Monday, we were doing our bulk cooking, but down the track, it's a case of we figured out we're happy to eat the same thing every day because it, one, keeps us reasonably healthy. Now, we still mix it up on the weekends, but overall, we're getting our vegetables, we're getting our fruit, we're getting our proteins, we're getting our carbs, we're getting our fats, we're getting that healthy mixture of everything. But it's a case of finding what that priority is for you. If you are happy to spend that extra money on things like my food bag, I would really recommend it because it does give you a bit more simplicity and it makes it easy to prepare if you're someone who's nervous about cooking your own food.
Yeah, and because it's in the pantry, you have to use it up. Yeah. It's there for the taking. So yeah, I'd have to agree. Obviously, you gotta have like the funds to be able to do that. I think once you start getting into a groove of cooking, like it's not that much more expensive than if you go for your pies and your pizzas and all the rest of it, there's
100%.
added benefits, and like you say, you can bulk cook your meals, so you can get some of your time back, which is an amazing feeling, and just reach into a fridge and you can have leftovers, which is pretty cool too. But yeah, health is a big topic. People should strive for it, in my opinion. It's an important area that I think everyone should
100%.
address. Any closing comments before we round the show up?
I think going back to one of our first points is just take it step by step. So we've thrown out a lot of information in the last hour, but the biggest thing is take one step at a time. So pick what you're going to focus on first, and then make your moves from there. Get a habit set, and then focus on the next one. So if it's a case of joining the gym, if it's going for swimming, if it's to get your diet right, choose one thing that you feel like is pretty easy. Get that nailed, feel good about yourself, and then work on the next step. And if you don't know where to start, talk to someone who does. So if you don't know who to go to, myself, Jason, either of us, we're more than happy to help. It is like
100%.
my literal career. Like that is what I do for a daily living. So always happy to help. And I don't charge for questions. Like if you've got a question to ask, just fire it through. Like that's
Right.
what I'm here for. Why I do it.
Yeah. One more thing I'd like to add. If you have a mate that you think needs help with their weight, or they might be down in the dumps, or they're just going through a rough period, help them out, because a lot of people they won't reach out for help. And you could be the one that changes their life dramatically if you reach out to them and try and get them on the right path, to help them out with their health, their mental health, just raising them up a little bit, because it's we all know people that have had a rough time, or they're just going through a rough period, and that includes physically, and that's been the theme of the show. So if you can help them out, just have a chat to them, reach out. It could make the world of difference to their life.
100%.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think we've covered a lot in that show. It's been pretty chunky, but hopefully that helps a few people out. It's a big topic, and not everyone likes exercise, but it's important that everyone prioritizes it.
100%. At least two times a week. That's all you need.
Twice a week. Get on the wagon. You'd be amazed by how your life can change. Awesome, guys. That's us for another show. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
Adios.